Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of City on the Hill. A great season premiere. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, obviously, let's take the Corsi side of things. Obviously, still dealing with the ramifications of, he kind of screwed the pooch on the whole Jimmy Ryan situation, and obviously the cases that kind of get tossed his way. Obviously, there's that situation with that kid at the beginning, and obviously it's like, oh, you called him the hard R. It's like, well, yeah, because he is one. Called him a house inmate, and it's like, which obviously, the Corsi was in that situation last season because Fields referred to him as that, and now he's the kid's even calling him Uncle Tom and everything. And obviously, there's that whole conversation, and it's a recurring theme throughout the episode. The whole price of hate situation. And obviously being like, yeah, you're smart, you're educated. Yeah, but you're smart, but you're not wise. So it's like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? So, and because obviously in this world, like obviously, they're trying to get across a point is both aren't always, both are kind of mutually exclusive, essentially, because, it's like, yeah, you can be right and be on your pedestal, but it's like things in the system doesn't always work, isn't great. So, yeah, you can be right, be in jail right now, or you can be happy back home. You made that decision. So it's like, I could be the one that ends up helping you. So, of course, he drops the case. But it seems like he's kind of been doing this more and more. It's like, and his boss is like, fine, you want to do that? It's like, oh, who was it? Was it a black kid? All right, fine, But if you want to, you're going to be the one to tell the cop. And he tells the cop, and it's like, well, have you been called that to your face? And of course, it's like, yeah. And he's like, but it's also like, because the kid had talked about the fact that this particular cop, it seemed like he was just kind of a jerk. Like every time you get off the bus, it's like, it's always an issue with this particular dude. So, and then obviously the guy's talking mad shit to DeCourcy, and DeCourcy just has no, I mean, to be fair, obviously there's always no love lost between DeCourcy and some of the cops, Boston PD in particular. So, I don't know if that would, I think that was someone from Boston PD. Maybe, maybe not, whatever the case may be. It's just so interesting, like, the guy still calling, like, the Corsi out, calling him, like, some BS, so there's that side of things. Obviously, once again, he's kind of got to work his way back up and kind of wade through all, like, the cases that are kind of being thrown his way. Obviously, there's this tie into, with, Jackie this episode. Obviously, these two fates, lives are going to forever be intertwined. Jackie's having fun with this lady named Holly Gunner. Turns out Holly's actually of some note because she's the daughter of an assistant U.S. attorney. And obviously she ODs in this car, having too much fun. Interesting enough, it's like, oh yeah, like you got this new nickname, I am woman, hear me roar. And it's like, he's like, Jesus. So it drops her off at the hospital that Salvy's working at. He's like, oh, thanks, glad we could talk. It's just like he dumps her. I'm honestly like, what I was actually, when the road was blocked off, I was like, you're not going to dump her body in there just to cover this up. But it's like, no, I mean, she's too high profile for her. If she goes missing, it'll cause too many questions. But like, the sad thing is there was a part of my brain that was like, oh, you're there. Like, it's like, oh, road blocked off or something. I thought like, oh, you're going to dump her body in a place where like the road's going to be paved or whatever. I thought that's where it was going to happen. Like I said, Jackie calculates a lot of stuff. But in my mind, I thought like maybe, like I said, the thing is that I'd even go that far to even think that's in the realm of possibility for Jackie isn't a good thing. It shows you kind of how much of a scumbag you are that I would even think you are that you are capable of such a possibility. So, but obviously, Holly's mom wants justice, so she wants to find out what's what. But of course, his boss is like, yeah, you know what? Look into it. Do the most bare minimum. I don't want to see subpoenas. I don't want to see a grand jury. Just say you looked into it, couldn't find anything. It's like, well, what if I find anything? I said minimum, so it's like, all right, of course he's looking into it. He ends up meeting up with, what's his name? Is it Chris from the Youth Strike Force? And it turns out, obviously, the hospital, obviously he connects like, oh, Salvi works there. It's like, and then it's like, what's that name? So, and it's like, yep, connects the dots to Jackie. So he actually goes to visit Jackie, and obviously Jackie's not in the best mood because obviously things haven't been on the up and up for Jackie recently. So especially with this whole Holly situation, I think that just kind of put a damper in all his fun and everything. And so, of course, he confronts him as like, yeah, because apparently there was this young woman, Madeline, who got arrested. Basically, the youth force, strike force, which like taking her in, even though she's a first time offender. Usually they kind of let that stuff slide, but they were trying to flip. Well, in particular, the FBI is trying to flip her into an informant. So the whole situation is like, obviously Siobhan hears about this and she goes to DeCourcy for help with that. Because also like Siobhan's doing her thing too. Like obviously she's doing stuff at her law firm, but I think she believes like, I think she's doing the good work she can just to make a living, because it's like, oh, you made this merger happen. It's like, oh, you're trying to make partner. Shouldn't you stay here at the party and stuff like that? Because like mingling afterwards, after, you know, helping me make a merger, that dude was like, yeah, that's how you make partners. She's like, I got other things to do. Because for her, it's like, she knows in this business, especially the way she kind of got kicked around a little bit last season. Like she knows, like, unless they put my name up here, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to like mingle and party and play the games of like, I'm going to do my job and then I'm going to do other stuff that's more important. Obviously the coalition and stuff. And so obviously she's in front of that councilman and everything, talking about, you know, the steps that they're going to need to take going forward. Obviously building off a lot of the stuff that was built up last season with the coalition and everything. But obviously, that lady Grace ended up informing her about the Madeline situation, and so she once again she brings it up to DeCourcy, and DeCourcy's going to Jackie about fixing it, but Jackie was just kind of like the end result of it. The runabout is fuck you. I'm not doing it for you. Because obviously DeCourcy's trying to push on him, being like, oh, I know so much about you, I could use this to take you down, but it's like Jackie just kind of doesn't care, which in the end he does do it just simply because it's like, damn it, I don't want DeCourcy using any crap against me. So he, you know, talks to the cops, and one of the cops in particular is like, all right, drop the case, I get it, you're trying to get an informant, but you know, lay it on. It's like, well, if they ask, blame it on me, which Jackie's already getting it from the U.S. attorney Karen, because she doesn't like him because he's a representation of the way things used to be. It's like, because he's an example of it, like obviously the top echelon informant program and stuff like that. It's like there's a stain associated with it, because like, oh, you have like your Whitey Bulgers and you also have your Jimmy Ryans, because we normally don't cut deals with murderers. Granted, everyone got blindsided by that, but the whole question has been, did Jackie know? And it's hard to say. You get the feeling, especially the way season one ended, it's like Jackie knew on some level. I think Ryan was just, I mean, Jimmy was covering and being like, nah, he didn't know. No, I don't think he knew. He knew. He was waiting for like DeCourcy to kind of screw himself over in that regard. Regardless. So now it's a situation of Karen wants, it's like either you leave, you retire right now, or we make your life a living hell. But he's like, nah, you're going to be stuck with me for a little while longer. Because I think for Jackie, this is all he's got. Like, if he's not an FBI agent, like, that power and that position is going to his head. Like, obviously, once again, that was the whole thing in season one of like, oh, like he reliving the glory of like, oh, what I did. Like, he's living off the glory of taking down like that mob family. And obviously this whole, you know, armored car robberies last season, like he's kind of living off the high of that. But it's like, outside of this, there's not much to him. All he has is being the scumbag FBI agent, because he doesn't have much else in life. And his family life situation's complicated. Pretty much everyone he knows hates him, and even those who tolerate him hate him, but once again, they just tolerate him. So it's like he doesn't really have much. So this is all he has going for him. So if he doesn't have this, he's a nobody, and Jackie can't stand being a nobody, you know? This job, this position, it's defined him for so much of his life that he doesn't know who he is without it. So he's not going to let it go without a fight. So he's maneuvering stuff along the way. Like, obviously, he tries to get Karen more on his side by being like, hey, look at what the Youth Strike Force is doing, and you know, the DA, that all this, they planted this evidence in Madeline's car to make her into a informant. And even Karen's like, so you want us to go after them for doing the same stuff that you were doing? And he was like, yeah, you know, almost being like, even him being like, I know, the irony's not lost on me, but it's just like, oh, no, the exact word, but he kind of was giving that feeling, but he was like, basically, oh, it takes a thief to catch a thief, right? Which obviously is sad, because this is all started because no one actually planted the evidence. It was just an opportunity for, like, the Youth Strike Force to be like, hey, it was an opportunity for a lot of people. It was just like someone threw that in her car to stash it, and it's just like, once again, the ripple effects of you never knowing like how things are going to play out. So Madeline's life kind of got turned upside down because of like someone just stashing some drugs, because that kid was running. I'm assuming the guy that was after him was like, oh, like they robbed his store, and the guy found him and was like, oh, hey, I want to talk to you, and he was running after him, and it's like, why? I guess he didn't want to, like, if he got caught by the dude, he didn't want there to be a situation where cops get involved and he might have the drugs on him. It's like, you stashed him in her car. I guess he would have to break it. I guess he was planning on coming back for him later. I don't know. It's like, why'd you do that? Could have found somewhere else instead of putting him in. It's just one thing leads to another type of situation. So everybody's kind of getting screwed in some shape or form. Obviously, staying on to the Corsi front, obviously he's confronting Jackie later on in the episode, because Jackie, set that whole thing up, because obviously, the youth strike force, and even it's like, yeah, he's trying to get at me because I'm the one that do your cases, and it's like, so this is what, and for Jackie, he ends that whole thing with like a quote, basically, the price of hate, you need a good, or like basically ending it with like, oh, you need a good enemy or something like that. So it's like, you want to come to blows with me, fine, we can continue this and enemy thing that we've got going on. I thought was kind of fascinating. Hell, even his conversation with Salvi, because Salvi was like, yo, I've got the tapes, why I didn't just turn them over, to explain to me why. He's like, no, don't worry, Salvi, I'm not going to go into this whole story, and I'm just going to tell it to you straight. You try to ruin my life, sadly, I got to do what I got to do, and I would do everything I can to ruin yours. So it's as simple as that. But hey, you got that tape as insurance, right? So it all, and I can't blame you for having this insurance. So we get to keep this, as civil as it is, but it's like, if I go down, I'm going to go down swinging, and I'm going to drag you down with me type of situation. So it is a really messed up. At one point in time, you can't tell that was a friendship until it's just like, because Salvi is like, I've been doing this too long that I'm not the man I used to be. Whereas he wants to try and bow out. But even when you try and bow out, you're still just caught in the reins that are like, you're just always in Jackie Rohr's grasp. Like, once he's got his claws in it, there's no letting go. But Jackie obviously won't bow out. Like I said, he just enjoys what he does too much. Which I think that's kind of interesting on the more family front, considering everything. Like, obviously, Jenny's trying to be there for Benny, and Benny's like, because Jenny's kind of holding on tight, and Benny's just like, no. Like, if I took the bus here, I can take the bus home. And it's like, I don't think she's told Benny that not the same circumstances, but she's been through something just as messed up. Like, obviously, there were earlier hints that before, like, she revealed it in the story in season 1. There were hints to it in earlier parts in season 1 of kind of maybe something similar happening to her. But I don't think she's told Benny yet, but Benny's trying to make amends to her, because it was like, I was just so angry. And it's not an indictment against you or Dad. It's just all the venom that was going around here. I was just angry, and she was just like, Jenny doesn't want to talk because she's scared of, like, she feels like she failed Benny in some shape or form. So it's like, no, this is on me, this is my fault. But like, Benny's trying to, make amends, because Jenny blames herself, which even, and I thought was an interesting storyline is that Jackie keeps, like, she's like, I want to talk, but he's like, no, and she wants to make amends. It's because Jackie can't forgive himself. Whether it's Benny trying to make amends, or whether it's Jenny blaming herself, because she's like, this is on me. He's like, no, that's your mom talking. It's like, you listen to him. He's like, I know I don't have the right to say it, but like, you do not need to take any blame in this. It's like, I'm sorry for everything. It's just like, what do you want? I will help you with it. And it's like, you got to figure out what do you want, because she's like, teaching wasn't really that, but she doesn't know what she wants to do. So that's the thing of, yeah, he's a shitty human being, but once again, he has these moments of humanity, because the reason why, he can't really talk with Benny, because he feels too guilty, because she's like, I want to be your daughter again. He's like, you are my daughter, but she's like, you see me as a victim. She's like, maybe if we talk, because anytime she's with her dad, I think it's a reminder of what happened to her, and she thinks that maybe she's able to talk so that he no longer sees her as a victim. Maybe she won't see herself as a victim anymore. But she's a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions. It's like Roach came after her because of him, and he hasn't told anyone. He hasn't told Jenny. He hasn't told Benny that, and he feels so guilty about, I'm the reason. It's not your mom's fault. It's my fault what happened to you. And it's like, I can't help but look at you as a victim, because you're a victim of just not only what happened to you, you're a byproduct of what I'm responsible for what happened to you. And look, like, accepting that talk, her making amends, it's like, no, I'm the one that should be making amends to you, and he can't bring himself to admit it. So that's why he's been ignoring the conversation, because it's like, that's my little girl, like, this happened to her because of me, so once again, you get those glimpses of humanity where, he can't. I think maybe the whole Holly situation, her being a daughter and everything, maybe it just reminded him of the Benny situation, because it is kind of effed up how he just left her there, which is like, yeah, you treated someone else's daughter like that. You didn't appreciate it when your daughter was kind of treated the same way. And maybe that's actually why he went out of his way to save her and not just kind of dump her body or whatever, because it just, maybe just his mind drew parallels between that and Benny's situation, that's why he didn't, I don't know. Because after, like, dealing with the Benny thing, after talking to Salvi on the phone, like, him at the bar just kind of, like, and it's like, oh, like, because at that point in time, it's like, no one's listening to his stories, at least at that point at the episode. But I think it's just a thing of, obviously, a lot of what Jackie does is mask a lot of the pain of just, like, self-hatred that he has. He kind of is upfront about it. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a piece of shit. But it's like, he knows that. He'll say it jokingly and laughingly, but he knows it at its core, and he hates that aspect about himself. It's just, a lot of it stems from self-hatred in many, many different regards, of being like, once again, like, when did he stop giving a shit? Doesn't even remember, so a lot of interesting things on that front. Obviously, we get Jimmy this episode because Jackie ends up confronting him because, like, the FBI is keeping an eye on him, and obviously they're mainly just trying to make sure he's not going back to the South and, like, doing shit on that front. But obviously he's trying to get, like, where he is right now. I think the area is known as Jamaican Plains, or I don't think it's Roxbury. I think it's specifically the Jamaican Plains. Like, obviously he's getting caught up in the drug situation going on there, and trying to get his own cut into it. Like, he's meeting with the dude. I think his name's Anton, isn't it? He calls him Denzel, but I think that was just him just being an asshole. I think because that's the older brother, and I think his name is actually Anton. Not unless the younger brother's name is Anton. I don't remember. I'm probably mixing that up. But Ryan is trying to get a part of this, which is obviously the whole thing of, like, right, like, home dude's like, I'm not going to be like your brothers. You're not going to turn on me like them. And so it's like, because basically Jimmy was running his mouth. It's like, if I don't get it from you, I'll basically get it from some other your other competition, which is kind of like a rival drug gang they're dealing with. They mentioned her name in the episode, but I forgot. But so Ryan's getting mixed up in all of that, which even Jackie's like, so what are you doing? It's like, yeah, I'm running my thing. Obviously Jackie doesn't really care. It's like, yeah, you just probably want to avoid going south because they kill rats in South. He's like, yeah, but they also do. So for him, it's just to me, I think it's just stupid. It's like, why would you go back to the territory, even if it's to sell drugs? I guess he's like because he even says, like, oh, some people respect him because it's like, oh, I got away with murder. It's like, yeah, but you got some people. I think people who aren't from that area, people who weren't cool with your brother and your family and just all the people you screwed over, I think they will look at it as like a damn, like, people outside of that would be like, oh, you had, like, or at least that's his justification, being like, oh yeah, people are dapping me up saying, oh yeah, it's pretty dope that I was able to get away with murder and even got an immunity deal from it, stuff like that. You would think you just disappear, but nah, you have to try and run some scam of your own. It's like, yeah, you basically burned your own brother to do this, and for what? You don't have your children, you don't have your girlfriend, your baby mama anymore. So it's like, I guess this is all he's kind of got going for him, all those sacrifices. But later on, he even shows up, like, in town, and Kathy's with the kids, and she gives him the middle finger. I'm like, why would you even go to that side of town? Why you stopping? Why you slowing down, rolling up? It's like, you ready to get killed? Like, they will kill you, kid. Like, I don't know why that punk is doing that, because I think that's just granted, we've shown he's not the smartest one, that he doesn't think things through all the time. I just know this is going to end badly for him. And who knows, maybe it's going to be karma coming back to get him. I mean, sadly, Jackie got away with a lot of stuff. Granted, karma came and bit him in the ass in many different regards, sadly, in the form of the Benny situation. But still, like, he's kind of gotten away a little bit with a lot of stuff. And obviously, that's why, of course, he's kind of got, like, such a hard on for him. Of, like, I'm going to take you down for all the BS. I don't have enough yet, but I will. You know, once again, you won't see me coming. Now, maybe I'll come after you, maybe I won't. But I'm waiting with this, waiting to load up this smoking gun against you, you know? So, I'm curious to see where things kind of go in that front. Especially when we end up finding out, like, obviously, we kind of had that sad situation at the end of the episode where the one kind of running things on that side of town, he's like, we got to put those other people in their place. They've got to be humbled. Because the reason why he's kind of top dog now is because basically the FBI did a sweep and basically took out the top level people in the gang. Now he's using this as an opportunity to rise up, him and his brother. And obviously, shots go between the two gangs. Stray bullet ends up killing a little girl in her own room, headshot. You know, and obviously for the Corsi, it's like, I don't want to hear nothing about anyone died resisting. It's like, find them, bring them to justice. A sad thing is, Grace is there consoling the mom. Turns out her kids are responsible for this. Like, even the youngest one is like, while they're having the prayers and stuff like that about keeping the little girl in their minds, like, he's looking up and his brother's kind of, all right, let's dig in. And it's like, and it's obviously, I think the younger brother, which I think that's kind of an interesting parallel we're going with. Obviously, we dealt with a sibling situation last season. Now we're dealing with it, I think, on the opposite side of things this season, you know. Whereas obviously that was a white family that last season, this was a black family this season, and more of a guilty conscience over, like, I'm assuming his older brother kind of rolled him into this. Because the way Grace is kind of introduced, I'm assuming she has no idea what her kids are up to, which is even the saddest thing. But not unless it gets revealed. I'm unclear. It don't seem like she's involved, but not unless we end up finding out that she is. That's going to be the saddest thing when she finds out, like, all this is responsible, all happening, all under her own nose. But like I said, not unless she's actually involved. We'll ultimately have to wait and see on that front. I did like her flexing early in the episode when, what's the lady's name? I think it was, who was defaulting on, like, her home. And it's like her home is being taken from her. She's like, I just need 2 more weeks. And Grace is like, well, call up your manager and tell him I'm pulling all my money out of his bait. And the dude Randy's like, yeah, whatever. He's like, yeah, boss. So it's just like, what's your name? Then Grace. And, I'm sorry, miss. And it's like, miss. And it's like, right. And so it's like, yeah, she was able to put him in that place. I'm like, yeah. So, like I said, I don't think she knows what her kids are up to, but like I said, I think that makes it even sadder potentially. I don't know. It probably would be worse if she was involved. Like I said, we don't know. Maybe it'll be revealed that she is, but I think it's just a thing of she doesn't know what they're. I think she's someone that is kind of a pillar of the community, not realizing her kids are playing a role in basically its downfall, you know. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see where things kind of ultimately go on that front. Oh, another storyline I didn't touch on was the whole Siobhan situation. Her mom is having her meet up with Josh, which immediately is like, whoa, you screwed over my husband, and the only reason why you're here is because you want me, because you need a favor from me. And it's like, well, we need a candidate. And she's like, no. Basically, I'm not doing business with you. Like, all the heartache and problems, like, you left my husband, you cut the rope and left him out, that kind of left him the flow in the wind to his own devices, which her mom is like, it's like, Siobhan basically, it's like, you should have known not to bring me here, because yes, I'm going forward with city council, I just don't need Josh's help to do it, because it's like, and I love what she was saying, like, basically, like, this town, you don't know how Boston is run. It's run on, what was it? Definitely, it was like politics, revenge. There was something else. And so for her, it's like, if I'm going to make my way, I'm going to make my own way and not work with Josh, who kind of, we've already seen that when the going gets tough, kind of cut loose and run. And it's like, no, I'm going to run things on my own way. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what things kind of go forward with her city council run. So a lot of interesting things to kind of keep in mind. I'm really interested to ultimately see where everything ends up going forward this season. Obviously, I only just caught up with the show. I watched all of season 1, so I have still yet to watch the trailer, and obviously since the season started I'm not going to, so I'm going into this not knowing what to expect from this season. So I'm really interested to see what the season has in store, where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.